What we want to do, we want to look at the internationalisation of retailing, developing new perspectives, focusing on the organisational dimensions of global expansion. Global markets will become increasingly crucial as the growth prospects transition from Western markets to new emerging areas. To start with, retailers are facing stiff competition from new international players entering their home market. What must they do to stay one step ahead of the competition? Claude, would you actually like to start this? Because you've got a lot of experience recently in the US market, and there's a lot of US retailers that are looking to come into the UK and into Europe. Why would they choose these markets first?
Well, I think the movement of U.S. retailers over the last couple of years has been mostly first coming through Canada, because it's a natural expansion territory for them. And it's interesting because one of the most recent major transaction in Canada was the fact that Hudson's Bay, which is controlled by an American who also owns Lord & Taylor in the U.S., paid $1.8 billion Canadian dollars to acquire the leases of 220 Zellers stores in Canada.
So sometimes when retailers tell me that, look, I don't know, maybe it's not the right time. Yeah, maybe in 1 year I don't have more place in Europark Salzburg. It's considered one of the best shopping centers of the world. And then, of course, I would take another brand, because it's like everything. Now Abercrombie with Hollister and Abercrombie & Finch are very known, but who knows that in 1 year then comes another brand and it's completely supplanted. So it's a question of coming. It's a question of using your right and trustful points and money. It's like poker. So now let's make straight flush. That's like that.
You're completely right, Philippa. For brands who are already well known in the world, so everybody knows the luxury brands from the LVMH group and from the Gucci group, for sure they must take the locations in the best parts of the streets when they've been offered, because everybody knows them. But we have also examples like Gap, who came a couple of years to Germany, and then I think it's now 6 or 7 years ago, they closed all their shops and sold them to H&M, and now they want to come again to Germany, and they need more time to experience the markets and to know exactly where they want to choose the locations to be. And it's a long, long process, and especially if they are not familiar with countries, they need a long time in advance to examine the specific markets. As they did in Italy last year, they opened the first 2 stores in the best locations in Milan, and they will expand now everywhere in Italy and then in the rest of Europe. And actually, they have a heavy program in Asia. This took them also a long, long time to examine the markets there. So this is an example actually for global expansion with Gap and Banana Republic.
Claude, you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I think I don't necessarily agree with you. I think if a brand has legs, it's going to run for a while. If it's a powerful brand.
Yeah, but I'm not saying that if a brand has legs, I also trust that. I just think is that sometimes it has to be the right strategy, you know. What I mean is that if you just are scaring to go, you don't give a move. And sometimes brands have to fail, to learn, and to go forward. You can lose 2 million today, you win 5 million tomorrow.
Maybe they do, but you also don't want to jump into a sinking ship.
Yeah, but of course not. You have to.
You need to do your homework, and you need to be able to identify the locations that's going to support your brand.
Yeah, but that's what I told in the beginning.
Yeah,
with the right strategy, with thinking, let's go. Of course, risk. There's always risk.
Yeah, except that, if you have a strong brand, I'm not sure that you want to go looking at major expansion plans in Spain today.
Now, obviously, one of the main things is location. So, Marc, I know that you specialise in making sure that the right retailers get the right location. So how do you go about that, and how do you actually ascertain that this is the perfect place for a new Forever 21, a new Parfois, a new Abercrombie? How do you do that?
There are many examples, and an actual example is in New York on 5th Avenue, the new Uniqlo store. So Uniqlo started in New York on the Broadway with a fantastic store, which is still working very, very well. And then they were looking for many years for a new location on 5th Avenue. And in this shop where they are now, there was Brooks Brothers before, and it was not so easy to get them out, but Cushman & Wakefield, they did this project to find Uniqlo as the right tenant for this property, and then the landlord paid Brooks Brothers 46 million to leave the location, to make it empty, and finally Uniqlo took it. And in the same building is Zara, who bought out NBA, and they invested all in all 400 million. They bought the retail space for 326 million, and they spent another 74 million to pay out NBA and to build the store. These are two prominent examples in the best location, the best street in the world, and we are looking for these examples because we don't invent the wheel new. We do it in Switzerland, in Germany, in the biggest cities in Europe, or sometimes also outside Europe, for these kind of retailers who ask us to find them the right location at the best position.
I think in the end, if you're a retailer going into a new market, you do need to do your research, but you also need to take a lesson from those who are there and who are succeeding. At the end of the day, our business is to develop a box that's going to draw a lot of people in it, and hopefully it's going to be part of your market that we're going to draw into our shopping center, and you'll be able to spin off from that traffic. But in the end, if it's not the market that's going to support your brand or your business, you don't belong in that shopping center. And, so.
On a location basis, Marc, have you ever had a retailer actually come to you because they've spent or invested an awful lot of money in the wrong location?
And this happens every day. If you look on the annual report of H&M, for example, they're opening every year 250 new stores, and they're closing every year between 12 and 15 locations. So they're losing every year around about 100 million for the locations they already opened, and they have to close, and then another more than 100 million to find the new locations, because the old ones were not working as they expected. So this happens every day, everywhere, and especially in the new shopping centers coming back, what we were talking before, like there are prominent examples like near Frankfurt in Germany, the Loop 5, which was not working as expected from the beginning, or in Switzerland, in Bern, a shopping center designed by Daniel Liebeskind. And here we have the good example that the location was so-so, it was okay directly at the motorway, but the architect was not the right one because he has no experience in shopping centers. He doesn't know how the people are walking, and that they don't want to be in a labyrinth. They want to see all the shops, and there are very big columns in front of the shop windows of the retailers. This is, from my point of view, the best example of a shopping center which was constructed in the wrong way.
That's an interesting point. So it stems back right to the beginning from the design point of view to make sure that that shopping centre is actually designed right to enable excellent footfall.
Yeah, and there's also a point, Jen, is that if you are working with a developer, with a big developer that have, and we go back to the mass point critic, is that if your store, for example, don't work in a shopping center or don't work in a specific location in the mall, with a well-structured developer, he will try, of course, to find you a new store to try to locate you maybe if it doesn't work in that city but can work in another city. So there's always a lot of opportunity for a retailer, and there's one of the parts of the support to get a good place and to work. Because we are so interested as the retailer that the concept functions. So we will try our best to get it.
Another example where you don't need the perfect location, but where the people are coming, is the new L Avenue project of the LVMH group in Shanghai. They will have all their brands in this, I think it's a 5,000 square meters floor building, and they attract the people to come to them. So there are different types of examples where you need the right location, where you don't need the right location, where people are coming to you. So
if a retailer comes and it's a completely new stuff and it's a completely new idea, new structure, and if it is branded, even better. But if something that we really believe, let's go to international specs, because you will have the support, of course, from the developers, because that's what we look for. That will bring new customers inside our model. That's, in fact, one of the parts of my work that I'm most interested in, is this kind of innovation. And I have to tell that, for example, in China, that's one thing that I like, is really how they innovate, not just the concepts, but also the way that sometimes they make the things. Because we can speak a lot, but it's the only place in Europe, in the world, that you, for example, have a shopping center target to AAA, that is Plaza 66, that really works. And you don't have below then Gucci, Hermes, and so on. Nowhere in the world it works a shopping center like that. Bal Harbour didn't work.
But you don't see people in Plaza 66. So it's always empty. So
no.
Everybody's wondering how it works. So, but that's why the people are spending $10,000 or more when they are going for shopping.